Today, I've got a very special guest, Sarah Jones, founder of Sarah Jones CPA. Her firm helps business owners build, protect, and grow through proactive tax planning and advisory, not just tax filing. She works with entrepreneurs across the country and is known for helping high performers think differently about money, strategy, and long-term wealth. Sarah, pumped to have you on for the second time. Welcome back to the show. Of course. So take us back for a moment. Everybody listening to this podcast, we're sitting in a coffee shop right now. Somebody's on a treadmill, business owner, entrepreneur listening to this. What was happening in your life and career when you decided, you know what, I'm going to start my own firm? Yeah. So we were talking about problems and pain points of business owners and entrepreneurs before we started recording. What problem do you see in the accounting industry that made you actually say there has got to be a better way? Because I've seen you and been on this journey with you over the years, and I know a lot of accountants, I know a lot of CPA firms, and you have really distinguished yourself, and you have really put in the time, energy, and effort and the work behind the scenes. So I'm curious. Yeah.
Result. You have to start with the end result. And that's kind of like we have our trademark roadmap system. Like we start with where do you want to go? What are your goals? What are your dreams? What do you want to happen? Because here, like me and you could have the exact same business, the exact same revenue. But if you told me, Sarah, I know that I want to build this puppy to sell in 5 years, that's a much different strategy of how we would do that versus if it was me and I say, you know what? I'm going to have this for 30 years and hopefully my kids are going to want this. That's very different. And you have to start with that end result in mind and then really plan it out for the client so that they can be successful both in the short term and in the long term. Because if you miss that long term, like what are you even doing? That's super important.
Yeah, it's so fascinating that you say that. And if you call our insurance agency and what I'm hearing you say, what makes a really good company, what I've learned is that you need to ask if your professional that you're seeking to do business with is not asking you a ton of questions, it's a red flag. If you call in our insurance agency, like we're asking so many questions because we want to model this, we want to customize it to fit your needs. And that's what I'm hearing you say, that you work with these business owners on that path.
Mm-hmm.
Now, early on, for entrepreneurs and business owners that are listening to this, you as a business owner and leader, what was harder than you expected about building your own firm?
It had nothing to do with being a CPA. That's the easy part. I shared this with you. My hope in my career and my goal for 2025 was to become a better leader. And I've heard it said that leadership would be really easy if you didn't have to lead people. So definitely being very honest and transparent, like learning how to lead a team, grow a team has been the hardest thing. Absolutely. Because I started out as a one woman show, added employees. So we're a team of 15 now. And that's a lot of personality. And you talking about the Enneagram and stuff, I'm an 8. I'm a hard charger. I'm very blunt. I'm very direct. And learning that not everybody is an 8 is was difficult for me. And that's absolutely lots of learning there, lots of growth, lots of gratitude for sure. But that's definitely been the hardest part for me is growing the team and becoming a leader, which will never stop. If I stop being a leader or growing there, it means that my time on earth here is done for sure.
That's so fascinating that you speak that in those words, because one of the things I've learned is it really comes down to its identity, right? So a lot of times in Montgomery County, just anywhere in general, it's like I identify myself as a CPA. I identify myself as an athlete, an entrepreneur, whatever it is that you identify yourself as. And for you, when you started out, you're like, oh, I'm a CPA, I'm licensed, and I can do this, this, and this. And there's that scope of work that you do. And I know our listeners and entrepreneurs listening to this that are going through the seasons of life of adapting and evolving that identity. What did you have to unlearn as a CPA in order to truly serve business owners at a higher level?
So one thing, and this immediately stuck with me, and I don't even remember who told me this, but it always stuck with me. You have to give people what they want in order to have the privilege to give them what they need. And what I mean by that, you come to me as a CPA, so I automatically know you need clean books, you need a clean tax return. That's a given though. Like you honestly, like you don't care about that. You want the value, you want the tax planning, you want the value add. So you have to give the client what they want in order to have the privilege to give them what they need. So me, I see myself as a value adder. My job, my whole existence is how can I give value to you? Because if I can do that, we're both going to win. That's kind of, I think, what we lead with here. And I think if there's a CPA watching this, if they would integrate that in their practice, it would probably be super helpful for them.
Yeah, it almost, my resting heart rate went down a little bit, and I've got some chills thinking about this, because what I'm hearing you say, and I'm paraphrasing this, is you're not only a value adder, but you're also, okay, you know what? Sarah Jones doesn't have all the answers, but she's going to surround herself with people that do, that can better serve those business owners and entrepreneurs. And that is value add. Yep. And that's such a beautiful thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. That's what it's about.
Yeah. Now, in simple terms, just so we can break things down, what would you say the difference is between traditional tax prep and proactive tax planning?
I'm glad you asked that, Sean. So tax preparation is very historical. Now here, I don't want to misspeak. It is required that we file tax returns. Tax preparation is very important, and it's really important that you work with somebody to make sure that everything's accurate. You know, I have my master's degree in accounting. You're taught compliance, how to make sure everything is compliant and up to IRS regulations. It's very important. But if you're only doing tax preparation, especially if you're a business owner, that is profitable, you are literally missing out on an opportunity if you're not doing planning. And when I first started out, I kind of started my journey of tax planning where somebody would come to me and I would do a one-time plan. And it was great. It was the greatest thing since sliced bread. But what would happen? Okay, here's your plan. We'd go over it. Okay, see you later. We'd get to the end of the year to do the tax return. And these are entrepreneurs. They're going 100 miles an hour. And I'm like, bro, you didn't do anything that we talked about doing. If we can't put it on the tax return, if we can't substantiate it, we certainly can't put it on the return. So it really, seeing that challenge became an opportunity to where now what we do is a client comes to us, and instead of doing a one-time plan, now we might need to restructure, we might need to create that plan, but we work with our clients year round to actually handle it. We hold your hand, we give that accountability and empower you through the whole year to make sure that what you actually set up, we actually can put on the tax return, and we forecast it out too. Which is really cool. It really, I think, has been a huge game changer because not a lot of CPAs do tax planning, but like literally no CPAs do year-round tax planning.
Yeah. You're almost, it's just like anything, right? So if you know, business owners and entrepreneurs, and they're focusing on their goals in any area of life, it doesn't have to just be business, but in this case, it's business and accounting. So why wouldn't you want to reverse engineer that? So where are we going? And then let's reverse engineer that by being proactive.
Absolutely.
In that process. Yeah, I like that. Now, working with these business owners and all the years that you've done it, what would you say the top 2 or even 3 costly mistakes you see successful business owners making year after year?
I will say by far the number one thing has nothing to do with, well, let me rephrase. The number one thing is having the wrong mindset. Like money mindset is very important. We all come into different areas and from different backgrounds. For example, some people come from money, some people do not. Some people have different beliefs. Not to get all, I don't even know the word, like I feel like we are in charge of how we think and feel,
Yeah.
but you sometimes do carry a little bit of that into your money, and it shows up as fear. And I feel like when you're operating out of fear, you absolutely don't make the right decisions. You're not empowered. So absolutely number one is that fear, that lack of money mindset. But what replaces that and what can really help that is getting a CPA that can help you in that journey. Because if you come into it with the right mindset and then have that accountability and are goal driven, and that's where the difference is, rather than if you already have fear and then you're working with a CPA that isn't goal oriented, isn't like minded like you, and
Yeah.
all they give is the typical generic
Yeah.
advice, that
Yep.
kind of almost further adds to how you're feeling. And you're like, oh, I see, I knew that this wasn't going to work. This,
Yeah.
that's not what we want. You want somebody that will help you get that money mindset. And then I think on top of that, outside of that money mindset, is especially for business owners, is just not being set up properly and never having a CPA that has gone through and like, hey, this is what you need to think about, and here's the differences, and this is what this means, and oh wait, what are your long-term goals? Because everybody and their mother recommends an S corp for the wrong client. That is absolutely awful advice. So
Yeah.
going through that of what are your goals? Do you have a partner? What's your like? There's so much that goes into it. Again, starting with the end in mind, but
Yeah.
going through that really helps empower the business owner on their journey, I feel like.
Yeah. And you had mentioned early and often, and this kind of transitions into what I want to bring up, a roadmap. I feel like a roadmap creates that, and even a framework in making that easy for the business owner, because you'd mentioned accountability earlier as well. That's another challenge I'm sure that you face, is accountability, is holding these business owners and entrepreneurs accountable. But with this roadmap and framework with your clients, what do you mind tapping into the core pillars you focus on?
Yeah, so it's really built around our mission statement, which is we help you build your dreams, protect your assets, and grow your legacy. And it's literally the land of build, the land of protect, and the land of grow. And it's, you start out, you onboard, depending on where you are. We look at all of your foundations first. How are you tracking things? How are you set up? Are you successful? Do you understand your cash flow? Are you completely in the dark? Do we need to change your setup? Do we need to change what business you're in? Are segments of your business not profitable? After that, it goes to protect, and it's really protecting what you've built. Looking at that proactive tax planning, making sure that you have asset protection. For example, if you have family, do we have a plan in place? All of that. And then really on top of that is grow. And I love everything that we do, but I really love grow, because what grow is, it's taken it next level. We have your foundation set up, we have everything built, we have everything protected and really tax efficient. And now, what do you want your legacy to be? What are we building? What are we actually going to go do? Change the world, do all of that stuff. That to me, you do have to almost lead. It's like if you were a brand new client, I want to know what your grow is on day one, because if I'm not putting that in what we're building, it's not going to stick, and it's not going to be custom to you. But that is the fun stuff. So that's what we do here, and it's a lot of fun, and it's very different than most CPA firms, which I love because I like being different.
Yeah, speaking different CPA firms, I couldn't agree with you more. Now I'm curious, business owners and entrepreneurs listening to this, they're like, man, okay, we're using a basic CPA. He or she does not do all this roadmap, framework, pillars. Oh my gosh. With your perspective on things, at what point should a business owner know, hey, you know what? You've outgrown your basic CPA.
That's a tough question. I think it's specific to the person. Let's talk first outside of financially. I think just from the mindset, from like people that I know that are going to be watching this are going to be leaders. Readers want to grow. If you do not feel empowered from your CPA, it's probably just not a good fit. Not to say they're not a great CPA, that they're not technically good, but if you don't get that feeling from your CPA, go seek somebody out that can be aligned with you and help you with that. From a financial standpoint, if you put 10 CPAs, 10 tax attorneys in a room, we'd all tell you different. I feel like when you're a business owner, if you're making six figures, you need tax planning. If you're maybe a high W-2 earner, here's where a lot of people don't, the tax code is written for business owners. Now, if you're a high W-2 family, There are some loopholes, absolutely, that can be very, very powerful, but the tools in our tool belt definitely are decreased a little bit. Yeah, I think that's probably a good generic answer of financially when it makes sense to get with a CPA that does tax planning.
Yeah, you definitely covered a lot of ground there, and that's a great starting point. I agree with you. Now, Sarah Jones, I would consider you a high performer. I am being probably a little humble there. And just watching your journey, being on this journey with you and how you speak and your conviction and you just embodying everything, an entrepreneur and a mom and a wife and just a pillar of your community and giving back and conferences, all these things that you're doing over the years. And I know it seems like you're in alignment with your calling and who God has called you to be. Outside of that, how do you personally define success beyond what we've already talked about, the revenues, the numbers, the tax planning?
I absolutely a value adder. To me, I'll give you an example, and I've told Phil this. Sometimes I know when I'm not in my element, if I'm doing things or if something's happened in the office and I have to do something all day that's not really like in my unique ability, and I come home and I'm drained. When I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, what I'm passionate about, I could do it for 23.5 hours a day and still go for another half hour. Like that to me, my calling, I think if I could only do one thing, it would be how can I add value to this person? And I really enjoy that. That I think just even saying that gets me fired up. That's what I really enjoy.
It gets me fired up.
Yeah.
Well, there's no doubt you're providing a ton of value today, just in this short period of time. So, greatly appreciate you. Speaking of boundaries or even non-negotiables, I want to pivot a little bit here. How do you protect your health, your family? You'd mentioned, your husband and your personal life on the side of things, especially during your intense seasons.
I think that's a really hard question, and I'm very blunt and tell it like it is. So I am going to be very blunt and tell it like it is. It is a struggle. So I went through a really pivotal time that I'm very grateful for in 2024 and into 25. And we had to do a lot of systems and processes and restructuring. And I'm so grateful for that. But during that time, I was going at both ends. I mean, it was a lot of coffee. It was a lot of late nights. What I really try to do is be intentional. So a couple of things that we do. Our youngest is 10. And every night at about 8:30, every single person, whoever's at the house, plops down on the couch and we read for 30 minutes. And it's so simple. And like, we're technically not even talking to each other, but it's really impactful. Like, I love to read. Phil's a reader. My daughter, Chloe, who she is back at home, she's wanting to go to graduate school, but like, she hated to read when she was younger. Now she loves to read. So like, instilling that in Phil, it's something that we do together. Then on the marriage front, like, I will say absolutely, like, without Phil, there's no way I could have the firm. Like, he picks up, and if you say that I'm ambitious and I'm he's absolutely the best part of our relationship. He's amazing. He picks up so much and does so much, but we're intentional with date nights. So for example, I was at a conference on Friday. It was in Vegas. So like, we left little Phil with grandma and pawpaw. He went with me and we spent Valentine's weekend in Vegas. So like, you have to carve that time out.
Yeah.
And I feel like we do a good job there. What's hard for me is to turn everything off because I do love what I do and because I am passionate about it. Last night, literally, I was in bed, doing emails. And like, so it's all balanced, but at the same time, sometimes it's really hard to have that balance. It's really picking what's important and making sure that that's kind of the non-negotiable, like the reading and the date nights, things like that.
Yeah. No, I hear you and totally respect that. I love that you guys implemented that 30-minute. And sometimes that makes all the difference in the world, doing that consistently for your family and being able to have that connection. I think sometimes we think we're like, oh, I got to spend an entire day with my wife or my kids, and that may be fine if that's intentional and you're putting that on the calendar. But just what I've learned, and especially I agree with you 1000%. I know a lot of our business owners and entrepreneurs can agree with that as well. We're obsessed in what we do, and our mind tends to never shut off because we love, right? We never work a day in our life when we love what we do. Yeah. But being intentional about that 30 minutes every single day, no phones, no distractions. You're there, you're present. Whether you're quiet or not, doesn't matter. You're actually there and present. I just love that. And
Yep.
I would just encourage our listeners to do something like that on a weekly basis, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, shut everything down and spend that quality time. And that'll fill your tank is,
Oh yeah.
what I'm hearing you say. Now, was there a season where your business was winning? Because you have been you have been making things happen the last several years. And I'm just curious because I know business owners and entrepreneurs go through that, and I do as well, where business is winning, external to society. It's like, man, this lady's crushing it. She's got billboards, social media, conferences. Wow. But something else in life was losing or being neglected.
Oh, I mean, I think, and I love all these questions because they're all on the fly. Like we didn't, I think that's every single day, Sean. I think there's a book called The One Thing that I try to read every year. And it literally says, if you try to chase 12 rabbits, you catch none. I think that personally, like saying that you're going to be good at everything in that balance is kind of bull crap. Sorry if I said crap, but it's true. Okay. Like I feel like what works for me is to have intentional phases of this is my number one priority and give myself grace there. But then also when it's done to know you need to take a break, Sarah, and you need to be mindful in these other areas. So one thing that really struggled for a long time was my health. I gained a lot of weight when I started my business and I stopped working out. And like, I owe it to myself to be healthy. I've always, I think, done a good job on the family front. I hope my family would feel the same way. But that's still also hard because, again, I'm passionate and I could do this 24 hours a day, but you can't. If I don't show up as a mom and a wife and as a friend and a Sarah, like what good is that to anybody,
Yeah, absolutely. And for people that are like, well, yeah, we hear you, Sarah. We totally resonate with that. And Sarah Jones, how do you recalibrate? How do you recalibrate when things feel out of alignment? And how you have any tips or tricks or advice on that?
Well, I'm an 8, Sean, so I just push through it. I mean, that's what I do. But I think what does help me, I love, like, if I'm going on a business trip or at a conference, like, even though this is so silly, me getting on a plane is like the best time in the world. And I'm like a notebook nerd. I go get a brand new notebook. I make sure I have a really good pen, and that's so nerdy to some people, but the people that are in line with me know exactly what I'm talking about. There's something powerful about it, and I like to plan. I like to do a brain dump. One thing I've learned in my leadership journey is do not get really excited and send all of that to your team because they don't share the same enthusiasm. My enthusiasm, where I'm like, let's go, is literally the opposite effect to them. It stresses them out significantly, and it took me a long time to learn that. So now I keep those all to myself, but I still get really fired up. You're laughing because you know exactly what I'm talking
about. You can share it with me, Sarah.
Yeah, because it is. You want to share it with the world, but literally all they see is, oh my gosh, this is all the things we have to go do. So that's definitely a learning thing that I've worked on.
God, I resonate so much with that. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners as well, especially with that temperament. Now, I want to go through, we're going to do something a little different, shake things up a little bit. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right. We're calling it the rapid fire round. So we're going to spend 2 to 3 minutes. Instructions are simple. Quick answers. Don't overthink it.
Okay.
Got it?
Got it.
All right. First question. What is one tax move business owners ignore way too often?
Having clean books. They think it's overrated, and it's so important.
One financial number every owner should know weekly.
Their margin.
A habit that keeps you sharp during stressful seasons.
Reading daily.
A belief about money you had to break.
That it's hard.
Who is Sarah Jones CPA not a good fit for?
For people that are not nice and that are not coachable.
Great answers. I love it. We're going to have to start implementing that a lot more. I like that. It's the first time I've ever done that. You executed.
Okay.
Well, Sarah, listen, this has probably been, you were on the podcast. For anybody listening to this, y'all need to go back in. I'm actually going to go listen to it today. I would highly encourage listeners to go back and listen to Sarah Jones. This is her second time on the podcast. And we've come a long way, Sarah. I feel like we've really sharpened each other, even though I was asking you the questions, but man, I feel like the flow is really good. So I encourage all of our listeners and viewers on YouTube to go back and watch this, or go back to our previous episode and listen to it, because it's been one of the top episodes. And today, if you like today, go back and listen to that. So Sarah, I just want to share my appreciation with you and your transparency today. You're an open book, your leadership and the way you serve business owners at a higher level. And I just want to thank you for saying yes, because you didn't have to, for spending 30 to 45 minutes on this. And I just appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you too. And I love to see what you're doing in our community, and everything back at you times 10 for sure.
Now, we had talked before the episode in the podcast. One of the things that I love doing on here is you've been nothing but valuable for us in our community today, in providing some of the guidance, the support, and just sharing your journey. How can our community at Level Up and Live, how can we support you?
Oh man. Just cheer me on. Well, you know what? The best support that I could have is if there's ever a client or a business owner that if I can add value to them, let me know how I can add value or what I can do better. Or if it's like, hey, I actually would really love to know X. Can you fix that? That to me, absolutely valuable feedback for me, for sure, and for our firm, and how we can better serve clients.
I love that. So for anyone listening to this and who wants to learn more about the one and only Sarah Jones and her firm, or how she helps entrepreneurs think strategically about taxes and wealth, make sure you connect with her. Sarah, thanks again for being here on the Level Up and Live show.
Thanks, Sean.